Well, Matt, um, how excited are you about Week 16 of the NFL season?
Well, week 16 is when we're starting to see the playoff field start to mold. We're starting to see contributors rise. We're starting to see contenders fall that we thought weren't going to be around. The Bengals are still hanging on. And also on top of week 16, it'll be my birthday on that Saturday. So I got a couple football games on that day. So I'm looking forward to week 16.
Well, happy birthday to you, man. I mean,
Thank you.
so let's start recapping some Week 15 games. First, let's start with the New England Patriots. They put up a fight against the Arizona Cardinals, but it was too little too late for them. But you know what? I think the Patriots are trying to showcase what they can be like when they start the 2025 season with a better roster and building around Drake May. I think, you know what? The first priority is to get some offensive linemen around him.
The Patriots had a really tough season this year. But I think I agree with you on one thing you said. They're trying to build morale for next year. And I think Gerard Mayo and company are basically just trying to look at the holes that they got and thinking long term how they can fill them. Because, like you said, the Patriots need to draft some offensive line. The receiving core and the quarterback play are still young and inexperienced, but now that they got a year under their belt, they're probably going to be better next season. Still a long way to go, but I think the Patriots are doing everything they need to do correctly.
We already talked, we kind of talked about this last Friday about the Rams and Niners playing in a low score battle with the Rams winning. Um, who would have thought that the Rams are in first place with such a awful record?
It's really surprising. And you know what? The Rams are getting hot at the right time. They get their guys back when they needed them. Seattle took a hit losing to Green Bay. And now all of a sudden the Rams look like they're in favor. And as far as the Niners are concerned, it was a horrible game for them in raining conditions in Santa Clara. And I think they're just done. I'm not saying they're going to give up, but they just look done. Their offense is not great against good teams. Yeah, you beat up on the Bears. Whoop-de-doo. But what else can you really say that you've done this season? You've lost Brandon Ayuk for the year, and you've lost a couple defensive players. You've disciplined Devondre Campbell because he backed out of a game. The Niners are not having their ideal season, especially having a Super Bowl hangover. Not fitting for them.
Yes, it's not really an ideal season for the 49ers, but talk about the Detroit Lions. Even though they lost, they tried to come back against the Bills, but the Dan Gamble effect, when you onside kick with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, was not really a good decision.
And if you look at it, that's what I think that onside kick was what costed the Lions, because the Lions were, I think, down by 3 going into that onside kick, and the Bills scored right on the next play. So if you look at that, if they don't onside kick and they get a defensive stop, which is hard for the Lions, you're looking at potentially a 7-point swing the other way, and maybe they'd win that game. They lost by 6, so who knows? But the Lions are decimated with injuries right now. They lost 16 defensive players, and to top it all off, David Montgomery's out for the year with a torn MCL. So things are not going good for the Lions, and this is the worst time for this to be happening, because now they're in a 3-way tie for the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Oh, yeah. Things could change in a heartbeat here. But who would have thought Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and the New York Jets come into Duval to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars?
It's a meaningless game. That's the problem. It was a meaningless game. I mean, for draft position, I think the Jaguars did the right thing. They get a higher draft pick. But for the Aaron Rodgers' sake, it looks like to me that Aaron Rodgers might be coming back next season, because I think this is his first full season as a Jet. Obviously, things didn't go as planned. And I think no matter who they bring in next year, Rodgers wants to give it one more year to see what the organization is like and see where it goes from there. I think that Mike Vrabel's on their radar for the Jets, but I think that there are other names that they should be targeting, like Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson and so on. But as far as the Jets are concerned, I guess it's a fulfilling win.
Yeah, I don't think this is a win that means anything.
It doesn't. I mean, both teams were 3-10 coming in.
Well, and then you also talk about the New York Giants. I mean, Tim Boyle was not good in that game, but you saw Lamar Jackson play his best football game of the year.
Yeah, 5 touchdown passes, no picks. Um, the Ravens were heavily favored in this game. They did what they had to do. Tim Boyle was never going to be good, and now I got a source from the New York Giants basically saying that Drew Lock is coming back. That's not going to really make much of a difference this week. We'll get into that later, but I think that if you're the Giants, your season basically much was summed up by the Lamar Jackson just pounding you to submission with 5 touchdown passes.
Well, I mean, we got to talk about right now the Eagles. The Eagles had a good win against these Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the Steelers face reality because the Steelers are good because of their coaching, but the Eagles are looking like they want that 1 seed.
And it's funny because this was the Battle of Pennsylvania. And an even funnier thing, I saw a stat that popped up earlier this week that said that the Pittsburgh Steelers have not beaten the Eagles in Philadelphia since 1965. It's been almost 60 years since Pittsburgh came into to the Eagles' home and beat them. So that streak is going to continue now for at least another couple years or so. The Steelers didn't have George Pickens, and I think that that's what hurt them. The Eagles had a little problem earlier this week with A.J. Brown complaining about his target share. That was quickly resolved. So the Eagles are focused and determined to get the 1 seed. But as far as everything is concerned, they would need to win out because if the Minnesota Vikings go 3-0 and they go 3-0, the Vikings get the 1 seed. So Eagles got to keep winning, and they got 3 tough opponents coming up.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit, but Sunday Night Football, there's not really much to talk about. Geno Smith got hurt. The Green Bay Packers just played a great football game. I didn't even bother watching because I knew this was kind of an uninteresting game.
And I think the problem now, this is where Seattle took a hit. Not only did they lose to the Packers to lose first place of the 1 seed of the NFC West, they also lost Geno Smith. Because now, I think this upcoming week, the Seattle Seahawks are looking into putting Sam Howell in at quarterback. That's not exactly ideal for them. Obviously, the Packers were going to be a tough battle going in, especially at Lumen Field. But now the Seahawks are getting hurt at the worst possible time. And even if the Seahawks and Rams are tied for first place in the West, heading into Week 18 and they play each other, the Rams own the Seahawks, and we both know that. So Seattle's in a little bit of a tough one here, but if they can just navigate through these next 3 weeks to win the division, then Geno Smith getting hurt might not matter, but we don't know the extent of Geno Smith's injury.
We'll see how Sam Howell pans out, but you talk about 2 Monday night games that turned out to be boring. Darnold and the Vikings beat Caleb Williams and the Bears 30-12. The Vikings were wearing their Winter Wonderland jerseys. And then the Atlanta Falcons should have been a blowout, but it was not. And that's what led Kirk Cousins to get benched for Michael Penix Jr.
That is correct. I want to start off with Minnesota first. I did love the way the Minnesota Vikings paid tribute to Randy Moss because Randy Moss was diagnosed with cancer earlier this week. I hope he gets through this and gets back to television. Obviously, you don't want to see an NFL legend go through this, and obviously on Friday the 13th, this was announced. So it's very unfortunate for Randy Moss, but the Vikings did what they had to do. The Bears are in complete and utter train wreck, and we know this. And they have not rebounded since losing in the Hail Mary game to the Commanders. They haven't rebounded. They've lost 8 in a row. And now there's questions as to who they're going to hire as their head coach, and that Thomas Brown's not going to pan out, which he hasn't. And the Vikings, like I said, they're chasing the 1 seed. They play the Lions in Week 18, and that could be for the 1 seed. That could be the battle for the 1 seed right there. But who knows? We'll have to see how the Week 18 schedule pans out because Week 18 time slots are undecided. And then for the Falcons and Raiders, you expected this to be a game where the Falcons run up the score, like you said, against the Raiders because the Raiders are so putrid. They were starting Desmond Ridder, and that's not how this game turned out to be. Um, I thought that the Falcons played below their capabilities. But now Michael Penix Jr. is coming in. You're benching Kirk Cousins, who you've guaranteed $180 million, but you said to me last night, you said that the Falcons have some type of clause to his contract. Um, Please relay what that contract clause was.
Oh, can you say that again?
Please relay what the clause in Kirk Cousins' contract is.
It was not guaranteed. Doesn't have guaranteed money. I think in years 2, 3, and 4 in the contract that they signed. So basically, the Falcons are ready to ready to turn to the future.
And basically, what this means is if there's no guarantee money after years 3 and 4, they could release Kirk Cousins after 2025. So we'll have to see how Michael Penix Jr. pans out. They're playing the Giants, which is, going to be a struggle game to watch because both teams are not great offensively, and you're starting a rookie in there, getting his first career start. So Michael Penix Jr. will have to see how he pans out. But for the Falcons, you're in desperation mode to just win games.
Yeah, you're right about that. But sorry about the whole music thing.
It's okay. Keep going.
Anyways, now let's talk about week 16. We got some really good games coming up here. So first, Battle of Oregon quarterbacks between Bo Nix and Justin Herbert. I mean, Bo Nix is making his case for Rookie of the Year. Justin Herbert is just having a comeback season with Jim Harbaugh in his first year. I mean, the Chargers, after coming off a bad loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks, I like the Chargers at home over the Denver Broncos.
Now, both of these teams have to be really careful. Whoever loses this game is in a dire situation because then you're looking at teams like the Cincinnati Bengals are right there nipping at your heels. I think the Broncos need this win more than the Chargers do, but I'm going to say the Chargers win because I think they need to bounce back from getting blown out by the Buccaneers.
Anyways, now their next game will be the Chiefs and the Texans. That's a Saturday morning. That's going to be a Saturday game at Peacock.
Yep.
This is a game where everybody should be excited to watch CJ Stroud versus Pat Mahomes. I like the Chiefs at home in this one.
Now, there was a little bit of a scare with Patrick Mahomes on Sunday after he injured his ankle, but he was able to fully practice yesterday. He fully practiced today. So I think those questions are answered as to how Mahomes is going to be. I like the Chiefs at home as well, especially because the Texans have really underperformed expectations. I mean, they won the AFC South, but they aren't as good as we thought they would be this year.
Yeah, and the next game we're going to talk about next is the Ravens and Steelers. This is for first place. The Ravens are going to come into this game and be like, you know what? They don't want to think back when they lost to Pittsburgh at home back in November.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Ravens at home over Pittsburgh, and the Steelers are finally going to face reality that they're not going to win the division just because Baltimore is still good.
So this game is in Baltimore. The last game was in Pittsburgh. So the Ravens got their chance to win at home. If they lose this game, Pittsburgh's in firm control of the division. So this is a big game in many ways. Both these, what you're going to get at Ravens and Steelers is obviously a tough, running, physical game. That's usually how it is between Ravens and Steelers. However, the Steelers might not have George Pickens again, and I think the Ravens take advantage and they tie the division. And what this happens is if Baltimore wins, it's tied at 1-1 on the season, and they have the same record. The tiebreaker, I think, favors Baltimore in that case, but I think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to take the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, the Ravens, I think, I think the Ravens run that division, but now we go on to our Sunday games here. I mean, the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons going head to head. I'm like, you know what? This is Michael Penix's first game. And I picked the Falcons to win, and Michael Penix gets his first win.
Wow. What a boring game. Sounds like a really boring game, but I'm going to take the Falcons. I think Michael Penix Jr. will shake off the jitters early, and I think he'll be okay. I'm going to take the Falcons easily.
Well, the Detroit Lions visit the Chicago Bears in the frozen tundra. I mean, the Lions don't play usually well outdoors, but I got to say Detroit comes into Soldier Field with a win.
I'm going to say the Lions rebound. I think the Lions rebound after a tough loss to the Buffalo Bills, and they are playing in Chicago. So I think that even though, yes, the Lions aren't great outdoors, Dan Campbell finally made a way to make it work, and I think the Bears are that bad that they're not going to get their first win since early October.
Well, the Cardinals and Panthers are going head-to-head here. I actually am picking the Arizona Cardinals to win this game. I just think the Panthers are kind of done, but they could still spoil playoff hopes.
The Panthers were the betting favorite to beat the Cowboys last week, and they got pummeled. Now it's back to reality for the Panthers. The Cardinals are still in the thick of it for the NFC West race, and I think they win this game.
Well, and then the Rams and the Jets going head-to-head. I mean, Stafford and Rodgers would be great in prime time, but here we go. A 1 p.m. Eastern time game. I don't think anybody wants to see the New York Jets in prime time. I'm going to pick the Rams to get this victory in the Meadowlands.
I'm going to take the Rams as well. The Rams are getting hot at the right time, and that's what you need in a football team. So I'm taking LA.
And then you talk about, this is probably the best 10 a.m. game of the slate. The Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Washington Commanders. I kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. Washington is trying to win so that they can get a better playoff spot, but I just like the Eagles in this game.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If Philadelphia wins, they clinch the division, correct?
Yes.
So there's a lot at stake for Philadelphia, and the Commanders are just trying to keep their season alive because they're just barely hanging on to that 7 spot because the Rams are right there behind them, and the Buccaneers are right there behind them, and the Falcons are right there behind them. So the Commanders need to win this game, but I think the Eagles have been on such a hot stretch, and I can't see them cooling off here. I'm going with the Eagles.
Here we are in the Battle of Ohio. I mean, the Bengals are starting to play very well right now. I mean, we thought that they got to fire Lou Amaruno just because the defense of the Bengals has been utterly bad.
I'll tell you what. If you go online, you will find that the Bengals are not officially out of it yet. They're not out of it yet, but they would need to obviously win their final 3 games. They would need the Chargers or Broncos to lose their final 3, and they clinch a playoff spot as the 7th seed. So Cincinnati has their work cut out for them, but I think the fact that the defense is starting to turn around now, I think is a very positive thing for them.
I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this game.
I'm picking the Bengals as well. Cleveland has also lost Jameis Winston for the year. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be the starter for the Browns. Not a good recipe for the Browns.
The Colts and the Titans are going head-to-head here, but I feel like that the Colts season this has not been the Colts season in a way, like quarterback changes, not really Shane Steichen's fault, but Anthony Richardson has really played well since his benching and really taken it very seriously, and the Colts still believe that he is their franchise quarterback, and I like the Colts over Tennessee.
I like the Colts as well. The Titans are just going nowhere fast, and I can't see any improvement from here. I'm taking the Colts as well.
Now we talk about the 4 Eastern time games. First, the Seattle Seahawks still alive in that race for the division. The Minnesota Vikings are not the best 12-2 team. They would be a better 12-2 team with JJ McCarthy under center.
Listen, you got to give Sam Darnold his roses. You got to. I mean, listen, I know you're against the whole Sam Darnold thing, but he's proven himself this season. And I'm proud of him because Adam Gase destroyed him in New York, and he deserves some recognition this season.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a backup quarterback to J.J. McCarthy, and I feel like the Vikings need to hold on to him just in case. What happens again to J.J. McCarthy?
Now, this is actually a fun point of discussion for NFL analysts about what happens with Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold could literally go anywhere. He could go to the Raiders because they're looking for a quarterback. He could go to the Giants. He could go anywhere that's looking for a quarterback. But the thing with the NFL right now, not a lot of teams are looking for a quarterback outside of the Raiders and the Giants. And I don't think Sam Darnold wants to go to either of those places. And I think after the season's over, Darnold will give you his sense of thought as to where he wants to be. I think he loves it in Minnesota, and I think he wants to stay there. Even if it's as a backup, I think the Vikings can retain him.
Oh, yeah, because J.J. McCarthy is the presumed starter and the franchise quarterback. In my Madden League, the Vikings were like 8-9 in McCarthy's first year, and second year is probably going to be a lot better.
And I also think, too, I know the Vikings' offense isn't spectacular, even led by Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold has done his part, but the defense has been amazing for Minnesota. That's another thing that we haven't mentioned a lot. The Vikings defense, I think, is number one in the NFL. And people aren't really talking about that because it's all about Sam Darnold's Cinderella story. But the Viking defense has shown up to play in all 14 games they've been in so far. And I think if you add Sam Darnold's safe, consistent play and the Vikings' amazing defense, and the fact that Geno Smith's out for Seattle, I'm taking the Vikings.
I'm taking the Vikings, too. There's no way I'm picking Seattle in this game,
No.
Well, the Patriots are going to Orchard Park. It's going to be snowing in Buffalo, and you're probably going to be seeing a lot of snow flurries and playing Let It Snow throughout the game.
I love me some snow football. I love it. I absolutely love it.
In this game, I don't really see the Patriots having a chance against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills just because the Bills are playing in a different world right now. They beat Detroit. The Bills play so well at Bills Mafia, Orchard Park.
Mm-hmm.
The fans there are going to go crazy and throwing snow. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win.
I think the Buffalo Bills win easily because number one, you got Josh Allen on the other side. That's intimidating. Number two, you're playing in the snow. That's even more intimidating. So, Bills win easily.
Both teams can play in the snow, I'll tell you that.
Well, the Patriots have had their fair share of winning games in the snow. They have. So, I mean, obviously, with the Patriots, you got to go back to the Tuck Rule game back in 2001. And you also got to go back to the Jim Kelly days in Buffalo, where Jim Kelly and Andre Reed carved up teams in the snow. So both these teams have proven historically that they can win in freezing cold conditions. But if you're looking at the current state of both teams, the Bills beat them easily.
I also don't get why the Patriots, why CBS picked Iron Eagle and Charles Davis to do that game. I wanted Andrew Catalon and Tiki Barber and Jason McCourty doing
Yeah,
that.
we both talked about that last night, and we both agreed that Andrew Catalon deserved a better call than Raiders and Jaguars. And unfortunately, that's not how it pans out. As we said, I think they're probably just prepping Iron Eagle for the playoffs. And Andrew Catalon is not going to get a call, which is unfortunate because he's really good. But what goes around comes around,
Yeah, I'm looking at the Week 16 announcers again. I'm looking at the Week 16 announcers again. So basically, Catalan and Andrew Catalan is in Vegas, which is kind of unfortunate just because why would he do a game like that where he would waste his time calling both teams that are not playing for anything?
Yeah, it's pointless. I feel bad for the guy.
And then Niners and Dolphins, which we'll get to, that's with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And we will talk about that game in a little bit. So let's talk about Jags and Raiders. Who do I like in this game and why? I'm going to go with my guy, Mac Jones, and the Jags, just because I just think the Jags are still I just still think the Jags could play for something, but I also think the Jags need to basically get a number one receiver for Trevor Lawrence.
So both of these teams are going to have a top 5 draft pick no matter what happens in this game. I think it's just a matter of who wants the higher draft pick. And I think the Raiders want the higher draft pick. So I think the Raiders are going to lose this game and Jacksonville's going to win.
Oh, yeah. Vegas really wants to probably get Shedeur Sanders, and Antonio Pierce, I think, wants his own guy.
Yeah. Right now, the two teams that need a quarterback are the Giants and Raiders, as mentioned before. And I don't know what the Giants are thinking. I hope they don't get Shedeur. I'm hoping that they get Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers or someone other than Shedeur. But we'll see how the draft pans out.
Well, next up, you talk about the 49ers and Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins, even though they lost last week, I still think they're still in the thick of things in the playoff race. I like the Dolphins at home over San Fran.
These are two teams that need to win badly to stay alive in their respective conferences. The 49ers have taken a hit in a lot of ways. The Dolphins, had they not started badly to start the season, they probably would be in an even better position. They probably wouldn't even be worrying about this. But unfortunately, this has not been a good season for both teams. But if I had to pick, I'd probably take I'll take the 49ers. I think that even though it is in Miami, I think that the Dolphins are kind of deflated by the Houston loss, and I think the Niners will take advantage of it.
Well, Sunday Night Football. Who wants to see this? Baker Mayfield versus Cooper Rush.
One half sounds fun. The other half, not so much.
So, Dallas just kept their playoff hopes alive by beating up on Carolina. I like Tampa Bay in this one. I just think the Cowboys, they're just winning games that is too little, too late.
The Dallas Cowboys are winning games unnecessarily. They shouldn't be 6-8 right now. After Dak went down, they should have just given up. But I am going to say this. I think that Baker Mayfield wants to keep his foot on the gas pedal and win the division, and I think that they can do that against the Dallas Cowboys.
Is that going to make Stephen A. laugh?
Not as much because it's over for the Cowboys. It's been over since the Bengals loss. So I'm going to say that it's not going to be a laughing moment. However, if it's a runaway, then yes.
It might be a laughing moment for Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, if it's a blowout in favor of Tampa Bay.
Well, on Monday night, I mean, the New Orleans Saints, man, they played hard against Washington. You know, I really like how Darren Rizzi's making this team play.
I think Darren Rizzi's coached this team so well. There might be a possibility he gets the interim tag removed.
Oh, of course. I think he does.
I think he does too. I just think that the Saints, they're just missing that oomph. And I think that after that 2-0 start, they lost a lot of their luster. But winning 3 out of 5 games with an interim coach is not a bad thing at all. So props to the Saints for for still playing hard no matter what the situation is. But the Packers are going to be too much for them. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going with the Green Bay Packers too. But next week, when we do our NFL picks, we're going to have a Christmas Eve special where we talk about our Week 17 picks where the Chiefs play the Steelers, Ravens, and Texans. And then Thursday Night Football, Seahawks and Bears. I don't know why that game is even on there. Why bother watching it?
Yeah.
And then 3 games Saturday with the Chargers and Patriots, Broncos, Bengals, Cardinals, Rams. And then the rest being some pretty good games here. And then the Cowboys are playing the Eagles again, which we know that is going to be a loss.
Yep.
So, anyways, here, let's talk some baseball here. Yesterday, the New York Yankees are thinking smarter after losing out on keeping Juan Soto.
Yeah, they've done a lot of good moves. We've talked about it before. They signed Max Fried, which was a smart move. They traded for Devin Williams, which was a smart move. But most recently, as of last night, they have officially acquired via trade Cody Bellinger. And they only had to give up Cody Poteet and cash for him. So that was a really good move for the Yankees. Obviously, the Yankees are speculating what they're going to do, whether they put him at first, whether they put him at center, or even left. But I think that Dominguez is your left fielder. I think that Judge goes back to right. First baseman, and actually I have on my phone a report from Yankeesaholic on Instagram, and he said the Yankees are in contact with 4 different first basemen, including Christian Walker, Nolan Arenado, and Pete Alonso are the top 3 that they've come in contact with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk about the Yankees just, getting Fried, getting Devin Williams. You talk about guys that, you talk about moves that Brian Cashman has made, and I felt like losing Juan Soto, I don't think is the end of the world for the New York Yankees.
No, it really isn't. I mean, listen, you couldn't pay your big-time superstar, fine. But you know what you did? You saved a bunch of money for other things. Because look at what was going to happen after Soto. If Soto left, Verdugo was going to leave. Rizzo left. A couple of your relievers left. Obviously, third base, you don't know what you're going to do there because LeMahieu's getting older. So I look at it as a positive losing Soto because you save money and you get to invest in other positions, which is what the Yankees should be doing. And Juan Soto obviously getting that $765 million and free box seats, good for him. But you know what? Stay there because we didn't want to invest all that money in you.
Well, and then I'm also looking at what the Yankees are doing now because the Yankees are going to meet with Roki Sasaki very soon. They might even get him. I mean, the Dodgers, I think, are still viewed as the favorites for Roki Sasaki. And I kind of think that, I think Roki Sasaki I think Roki Sasaki is probably going to be a Dodger.
I mean, listen, the fact that the Yankees are in the conversation, I think, is actually a notable thing because it shows you how aggressive Brian Cashman has been so far this offseason. I mean, losing Soto hurts, but he's benefited by saving a lot of money and being aggressive and pushing for these high-profile free agents. And if you look at who's still out there, Corbin Burns is still out there. Teoscar Hernandez is still out there. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt are also names that people are trying to target. So, and Anthony Santander is still out there. So you got a lot of big names out there in the MLB free agent market that have yet to find a home, and they're going to find a home. It's just a matter of when and where.
Well, yeah, but I also still think that with Teoscar Hernandez still in the market, you and I both said that I kind of think the Dodgers are going to, it's a foregone conclusion that I think he still remains an LA Dodger.
I mean, he's made it a priority to come back to the Dodgers. He's been linked to them ever since the World Series concluded. So I think, yes, Teoscar Hernandez stays in LA and gets a new contract. Corbin Burns is a question mark. I don't know where he's going to go. Probably somewhere on the West Coast, maybe the Giants. As far as Anthony Santander, he's been linked to the Yankees. Arenado and Goldschmidt have been linked to other teams. We're trying to see what goes on with Alex Bregman with Houston, but I don't think the Yankees want to trade for him because the Astros hate the Yankees' guts. And then there's also, like I said, Alonso is a big player to watch because I think the Mets are not going to be able to afford him after giving Soto all that money. So a lot of pieces still have to put in place. But if you ask me who I think our first baseman is going to be in New York, I want it to be Pete Alonso. But I think Christian Walker is cheaper.
Yeah, I think the Yankees should go with Christian Walker just because I feel like that the Diamondbacks, I don't know who they go at first base.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like with the Diamondbacks, they need to find a way to pivot. If you were going to lose one player at a position, who do you replace them with? Who's your next man up? And I think with the Diamondbacks, I don't think they want to lose their really true first baseman. Unless they decide to trade for Christian Walker and basically say, hey, we'll take Ben Rice off your hands if you give us Christian Walker.
I'm kind of thinking that the Diamondbacks should basically explore a reunion with Paul Goldschmidt.
And that's another thing too. Like you have 4 first basemen that are still out there looking for homes, that are uncertain about their future. I think if Goldschmidt goes to Arizona and Christian Walker comes to the New York Yankees, that'd be fine. But then what about Alonso?
He stays with the Mets.
Really?
Yes. Steve Cohen, I think, will still have money in his pocketbooks to keep him.
Interesting.
Because I don't think the Mets would be. I think the Mets would be foolish to let Pete Alonso go. I think they can be creative to do that, just because I feel like that they'll find a trade partner for Starling Marte.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, listen, you and I both know how rich of a man Steve Cohen is. He can do whatever he wants by pulling his money out of his wallet. He could do whatever he wants. If he has enough cash to keep Alonso, then by all means you can keep him.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think he can keep. I think Pete Alonso will remain a New York. I think he will remain a New York Met.
I mean, like I said, money talks. Money talks.
Well, I also learned that Ha-Seong Kim is still out there. Are the Dodgers a fit for Ha-Seong Kim?
It's funny because we've talked about this before off air, and I think the Ha-Seong Kim could be linked to a California team. I hear that the Giants are linked to him as well. I think for the Dodgers, there's no need to look for ways to improve your team. Yes, you won the World Series, but you still have so much to work on.
Yeah, I still think the Dodgers will keep Teo. I also think that getting Trinan back was key. I also think that the Dodgers. I like the Conforto signing. I think that's going to be sneaky. That's going to be really good, though.
Yeah, listen, the Dodgers made the moves that they needed to make best fit. And we didn't mention Blake Snell a lot last time. Blake Snell was a really good addition to the rotation.
Yeah, he is. I mean, you look at it, but anyways, let's talk some NBA real quick. I mean, what were your thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA Cup?
Well, it was a rout. The Thunder did everything they could to try and hang in there, and I think Milwaukee with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo peaking at the right time, winning the NBA Cup. Obviously, we both know our opinions about the NBA Cup. It's an extra $400,000 in your pocket. Good for them, but I think it's also a confidence booster for the Bucks. I think that they got off to such a slow start earlier in the year, but now they found their footing and look at them. They got a title in their hands.
Yeah, they definitely did, but that's not something we should celebrate.
No.
Just because
Absolutely not.
NBA Cup is it's just there. It's just there for pride.
It's just there for pride and bragging rights, and it's just more NBA money that they can collect.
Yeah, and then you talk about some college football here. What was your reaction to Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy?
I'm not mad at it because I know what the people think. Giving a two-way player a Heisman is basically like giving Shohei Ohtani an MVP. You have to do it because the guy's playing both sides of the spectrum for the sport. And I think that while Travis Hunter is a great player and a great athlete, he did something amazing. But I think Ashton Genty coming in second, I think was kind of expected because Ashton Genty was chasing Barry Sanders' rushing record. But Travis Hunter deserved it. 4 interceptions, and I think the best receiver for Colorado. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Hunter was like a top draft pick in 2025, but obviously they gave it to the right guy.
Oh, yeah, they did. I mean, Travis Hunter, I think he's probably going to be a super generational talent when he enters the NFL draft.
Yep, he's gonna be turning the world upside down. But I think that when he gets there, he's gonna be a guy that's gonna be strictly receiver. I think that the NFL, when they have two-way players come in from college, they like to convert them to one position. Travis Hunter's a natural wide receiver. He just plays secondary because he's been doing that all of his life.
Yeah, he has, and I think that Shedeur Sanders. Do you think that Shedeur Sanders is Is Shadur Sanders going to be a number one pick, or do you think that he's going to go to or do you think Shadur Sanders is a Raider or a Giant?
Raider. Keep him away from Big Blue. Keep him away. Keep him and his father away. I don't want him. If the Raiders want him, they can have him. I don't want anything to do with him.
Anyways, here, that's going to do it here. Next week is going to be a jam-packed show with Christmas stuff, and I'll see you next Tuesday, Matt.
Take care, everybody.